Be me 44 chief operating officer type at a regional hospital in western Massachusetts. Pull like $235,000, plus the usual exec perks, been in healthcare admin forever. Something like 19 years. Hospital's called Mercy Valley Medical, around 340 beds. Level 2 trauma center, covers a whole stretch of towns, maybe 420,000 people. Only real hospital for like a 45-mile radius, about 1,300 staff. Total roughly 190 docs across every specialty. You can name my lane is OPS, staffing, budgets, department money, basically everything non-clinical except money. And staffing means I still steer clinical stuff. Indirectly been here almost 4 years. They hired me to modernize and fix culture place. Has a reputation, old school boys club hierarchy, ego-driven. You can feel it in the hallways. Medical staff is like 70% male, 30% female. Not shocking for this area, but still ugly. Leadership is worse. Department chairs are 12 guys, 2 women. Chief of surgery is a dude. Chief of ER is a dude. Chief of cardiology is a dude. Most of them have been here since the Bush administration. Old guard hate change, unless it's a new parking spot for themselves. CEO is doctor. Daniel Wu, early 60s doctor turned executive, obsessed with outcomes, safety metrics, keeping the books clean, doesn't care about culture unless it hits the numbers. His attitude is basically don't get sued and don't go bankrupt. My job is to drag everything else into this century while he watches the dashboards. First month here, I see the rot, immediately systemic imbalance everywhere. Women, physicians getting passed over for leadership. Like it's tradition committees stacked with dudes making every serious call, women concentrated in the softer specialties, PDs, family medicine, stuff like that, men holding the prestige domains, surgery, cards, ortho. It's not random, it's structural, and supposedly I'm the guy hired to fix it. Year 1, I play the reasonable game, work the pipeline. Tell recruiting, we need stronger outreach for women, candidates not calling it a quota. Out loud, just enhanced sourcing for underrepresented applicants. But yeah, in practice, I'm leaning on them hard. Every opening, I want a woman in the finalist pool, no exceptions, unless the pool is truly empty. Results actually hit. We hire 20 new physicians that year. 13 are women, about 65% big swing for this place, board. Notices board, likes it. They clap politely and pretend they were always on board. Department chiefs do not clap. Chief of Emergency Medicine, Dr. Greg Hayes. Mid-50s storms into my office like he owns the building. That ER attending slot. You picked Dr. Emily Carter over Dr. Kevin Park. He says it like I stabbed his dog. I pull up the files. Park has like 9 years. ER experience, Carter has around 4. Hayes is seething. Park's done high-volume trauma. He's worked a level 2 before. Carter hasn't. We see major stuff, he says. Car wrecks, industrial accidents, occasional shootings. We need experience. I get defensive instantly. Are you saying, doctor, Carter isn't qualified? He doesn't even blink. I'm saying Park was more qualified and you picked the less experienced one. I hit him with the line, I picked the candidate who fits our culture goals and broadens perspective. He practically laughs. This isn't about perspective. This is about capability under pressure. He leaves pissed off. I log the whole interaction, note it, as resistance to diversity initiatives, because that's what it is, in my head anyway. Same vibe comes from other chiefs over the next few months. Little comments, little complaints. Why her? Why not him? I dismiss all of it. They're protecting their fiefdoms. They don't like feeling the ground shift year 2. I stop playing nice. If the old guard is the problem, then the old guard has to move, start aiming at leadership itself. Department chairs, the guys who've been sitting on power since forever. Chief of surgery is Dr. Mark Bradford. Late 50s, been here 20 plus years. Excellent surgeon, no one can deny it. Complication rates, low. Staff respects him, patients love him, but he's a man and he's held the chair for over a decade in my head. That's already disqualifying time for turnover. So I start building a file, nothing dramatic, just a drip of concerns, not responsive enough to patient complaints, pushback on quality. Improvement meetings, doesn't mentor female residents actively. None of it would get him fired anywhere but stacked together. It makes a narrative a vibe, a pattern. I take it to Dr. Wu. Bradford's leadership style is outdated. It's problematic. Wu looks at me like I'm trying to sell him a timeshare. His outcomes are excellent. His department's numbers are some of the best in the region. I keep going, but leadership has to reflect our values. Equity, inclusion. I show him demographic surgery department is like 76% male physicians, and I spin it. Surgery is male-dominated nationally, sure, but we can't keep reinforcing it with male leadership forever. Push, 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 every meeting, every hallway conversation. I'm relentless, eventually Wu gives in, but in the most clinical way possible, not firing. Bradford just a leadership transition, encourage him to step down. As chief, offer him a senior attending spot. Instead, same pay no admin duties, just cut him out of power. Bradford is furious, and honestly, he has a point. I didn't do anything wrong, he says. This isn't performance. You just want a woman in the chair. I give him the sanitized answer. We're creating space for underrepresented voices in leadership. He says it flatly, so I'm being shoved out for politics. And yeah, basically he gets the choice. Everyone gets, take the demotion with a smile or walk. He takes it. Steps down, stays as an attending surgeon. And now I have an opening, my opening. The moment I've been steering towards surgery. Department has 2 women, surgeons both still pretty junior compared to the dinosaurs. Dr. Lauren Chen, late 30s, been here about 5 years. Solid hands, good bedside manner. Dr. Megan Walsh, early 40s, been here 7 years. Competent, always volunteering for committees. Neither has chaired a department, neither has been chief anywhere, but they're women, and in my mind that means ready for opportunity. Problem is, there are also like 8 male surgeons, guys with way more seniority. Dr. Brian Stone, late 40s, decade plus. Here teaches resident staff, trusts him. Dr. Anthony Torres, early 50s, 15 plus years. Experience, runs quality improvement projects. Both would be obvious picks if this was purely about qualifications. But they're men, and yeah, that would keep the same pecking order intact. More of the same guys running everything forever. So, I make the call, I pick doctor. Megan Walsh, as the new chief of surgery, announced it at the department meeting, like it's already done. Room goes weirdly quiet. You can literally hear someone's pen. Stop scratching, a couple of the older surgeons just stare at me. Brian Stone is the first one to open his mouth. Megan, congrats, he says, polite but tight. But what was the process here? How were candidates evaluated? Were we even allowed to apply? He's trying to sound calm, but the subtext is screaming, I'm ready for it. We did a comprehensive review of leadership potential, I say, doctor. Walsh demonstrated the vision and values we're looking for. Stone's face does this little twitch, he's not buying it. I've been running resident education for 5 years, he says. I've published like a dozen papers. I sit on multiple hospital committees. He lists it off like a resume grenade. I nod like I care. Those are valuable contributions, I tell him, but we need leadership that reflects diversity and the future of the organization. Meeting ends in that stiff, fake professional way. People doing the forced smile thing. The male surgeons are clearly pissed. But I tell myself it's fine. This is what progress looks like. It's supposed to feel uncomfortable to the old guard. Megan takes over. She's nervous. You can see it. No real chair experience, but she's trying. First month is okay. She's learning the admin routines, making calls, getting her feet under her. Then month 2 hits, and the first real test drops out of the sky. 69-year-old guy rolls in, needing an emergency coronary bypass. Absolute mess of a patient, diabetes, renal issues, history of heart failure, the kind of chart that looks like a phone book. Mark Bradford, the former chief, is still the most experienced cardiac surgeon we have. He's done hundreds of these, lowest complication rate in the department. The guy you want when it's ugly. But Megan is on call, patient comes in, crashing, needs surgery. Now can't sit around waiting for Bradford's shift change or a maybe he can come in phone call. Megan takes him, she does the operation technically clean, no obvious screw-ups, but the case is nastier than she expected. Post-op complications stack up, fast. Blood pressure tanks, rhythm goes sideways. Then the guy arrests, whole team jumps in, they do CPR forever. like almost an hour of compressions and meds and shock after shock. Eventually, someone calls it patient dies. Standard mortality review gets scheduled because any surgical death gets picked apart under a microscope committee, sits down charts, notes, timelines. The whole autopsy by paperwork routine consensus at first is basically high-risk patient. Bad outcome, likely no matter who was holding the scalpel. Then Bradford speaks up calm voice, but you can feel he's aiming it. The anastomosis approach was suboptimal for this anatomy, he says. A more seasoned surgeon might have chosen a different technique. The room tightens. Megan snaps back immediately. Are you saying I killed him? Bradford doesn't raise his voice. I'm saying experience matters in cases like this. Committee writes it down as feedback, but no one officially faults Megan. They don't want to torch the new chief. 2 months and patient's family is wrecked. They start asking the questions out loud. Why wasn't the most experienced surgeon called in? Who decided she should do it? Legal tells us to say basically nothing. Don't admit anything. Don't speculate. Keep it tight. Because liability family hires an attorney. Anyway, requests start coming in, credentials call, schedules, who was on duty, who made staffing decisions, and why I feel the first little knot in my stomach. But I tell myself, it's just one awful case. Medicine has outcomes like this. It's not about gender, it's about risk. Then around 10 weeks later, we get hit again. Car crash trauma rolls in 29-year-old woman, multiple injuries internal, bleeding, the kind of patient that needs a fast, violent kind of efficiency. ER is slammed. Doctor. Emily Carter is on call, the same one I hired over Kevin Park. She starts working her stabilizes, orders, scans, lines, labs, imaging, the whole protocol checklist. But it's slow, like she's moving through molasses. Patients trending worse in real time. Nurse supervisor suggests calling in Greg Hayes for a consult. Hayes is the ER chief. The guy who hated my hire. Carter refuses straight up. I've got it. I don't need him hovering over me. Then the patient's pressure drops hard. Everything turns into chaos. They rush her to the OR. Surgery goes on for hours. Messy internal injuries everywhere they work. Their asses off doesn't matter. She dies on the table. Trauma review. Gets called. Hayes is on the committee, and he comes in loaded for bear. Time to OR was nearly 3 hours from arrival, he says. That's too long for this injury pattern. Carter defends herself. I was following protocol and waiting for imaging. Hayes doesn't let her hide in paperwork. Protocol is for stable patients. This patient wasn't stable. He points at the vitals. She came in borderline and trending down. Pulls up the timeline on a screen, shows the delays like a crime scene reconstruction, almost 40 minutes, waiting on CT time, burned on steps that didn't change the plan. You could have gone straight to OR, he says, and she might still be alive. Carter gets emotional. This is Monday morning quarterbacking. Hayes leans in. I'm reviewing a case where a young woman died and the timeline screams delay. Committee splits some people's side with Hayes, some circle the wagons around Carter outside that room. The family is asking the same stuff. Why did it take so long? Was the doctor experienced enough for a trauma like this? Another attorney, another request packet, another family ruined. Now I'm actually worried, but I keep trying to hypnotize myself. Isolated incidents happen. Hospitals aren't magic. Bad outcomes don't automatically mean bad hiring. Then month 5 happens, and this one is the nightmare. 74-year-old man comes into the ER with chest pain, sweating, pale, classic heart attack vibe. Doctor. Paige Ramirez is on call, one of my newer hires, early 30s, 3 years out of residency, super eager, big on progressive care, buzzwords. She does an exam, orders an EKG, shows abnormalities, but she misreads. It doesn't recognize the pattern of an acute OMP. I sends the guy home, labels it indigestion, hands him antacids and discharge instructions like it's nothing. Guy collapses at home less than 6 hours later. Massive heart attack, dead before EMS can do anything useful. Family brings him back to our ER screaming. It's too late, he's pronounced dead. They're demanding answers. Why was he sent home? Why wasn't he admitted? Autopsy comes back, clear signs of a heart attack that started earlier. Records get pulled, EKG gets reviewed, and the mistake is so obvious it makes you cold. Any experienced ER doc would have caught it, would have admitted him, would have called cardiology, would have treated it as an emergency. Hayes gets called into review, and for the first time he looks genuinely horrified, not just angry. "This is a textbook STEMI," he says. "How did she miss this?" He points right at the tracing ST elevation in 2, 3, and a VF. "You don't discharge this." Hospital legal goes into full panic mode because this isn't high risk or bad luck. This is clean, bright, obvious malpractice. Guy should have been admitted, should have been treated. Instead, we sent him home with antacids and he died on his living room floor. Family has the kind of case lawyers put on billboards next morning. I get pulled into an emergency meeting. CEO, Dr. Wu, Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Karen Patel and me, sitting there like I didn't just light a fuse. Door shuts, tone is ice. Patel doesn't waste time. 3 patient deaths in 6 months. All 3 have questions around physician competency. Wu stares straight at me like he's trying to drill through my skull. And all 3 physicians are among the ones you pushed us to hire or promote. It's not subtle. It's an accusation with a lab coat on. I snap back. "Are you saying I hired incompetent physicians?" Wu's voice goes flat. "I'm saying you prioritize demographics over qualifications." Patel pulls up hiring records on a screen, like she's presenting evidence in court. Dr. Emily Carter had 4 years of ER experience. The other finalist had 9. Dr. Paige Ramirez had 3 years out of residency. The other finalist had 7. She taps each line item. "In both cases, you advocated strongly for the less experienced candidate." I feel my face heat up. "They were qualified," I say. "They met the requirements." Patel doesn't even blink. "Minimum requirements for routine shifts. Not complex trauma, not cardiac emergencies." Wu gets visibly pissed, which is rare for him. This guy usually talks like a spreadsheet. Now his voice actually has teeth. People are dead. 3 patients who might be alive if we'd hired more experienced physicians. I try to defend myself. "You're being reductive." "Experience isn't the only factor." Wu cuts me off immediately. "In medicine, experience is the primary factor. Everything else is secondary." Then he pulls up data charts, trends, ugly arrows pointing up. ER complication rate is up about 20% since you started leaning on recruitment. Surgical complications are up since Walsh took over as chair. These aren't coincidences. These are consequences. My stomach drops because he's not wrong on the optics, and the numbers don't care about my intentions. Legal slides into the conversation, like a shark-head counsel in 2 suits. I don't know. "We have 3 lawsuits already. Potential exposure around 18 million. And that's before punitive damages or a class of additional claims." They keep talking. All 3 cases involve competency questions. All 3 involve staffing decisions, administration influenced. And then everyone just kind of looks at me like I'm the stain on the white carpet. I try to anchor myself. "I was implementing the diversity goals the board approved." Patel hits back instantly. "The board approved diversity goals, not lowering standards." Wu stands up, palms on the table. "I'm requesting an external review of hiring and promotion decisions. We need to know if clinical qualifications were compromised." 2 weeks later, the external review lands, and it's a fucking crater outside law firm. Hired, they interview staff, review emails, look at candidate scorecards, pull outcome metrics. The report is like 90 pages long. I don't even get the full thing, at first just highlights, which is hilarious because there's nothing highlighted that's good. First bullet point basically says, pattern of prioritizing demographic traits over clinical experience in hiring multiple instances, where lower-ranked candidates were selected, department chiefs, routinely overruled by administration on staffing calls. They even interviewed the people we rejected, the guys I didn't pick. Kevin Park. The ER doc we passed over. They track him down at another hospital. He's doing fine there, no weird spikes, no drama, and his quote makes my blood run cold. "They told me I wasn't a culture fit. I'd been working level 2, trauma for nearly a decade. I knew the pace. I knew what mattered." The report conclusion reads like a tombstone. Hospital prioritized the appearance of diversity over patient safety. Administrative decisions contributed to increased complications and patient deaths. And there's my name all over the decision. Trail board calls, an emergency session, and I'm ordered to attend, not invited, ordered room is full of terrified rich people trying not to look terrified. Their faces say one thing. Liability and attorney board member speaks first. These lawsuits could cost us $18 million. Maybe more. But the bigger problem is our trauma designation. The state is sniffing around after 3 deaths with major questions. Another board member jumps in. Were you instructed to lower standards for diversity? I answer honestly, no. I was told to improve diversity. I use my judgment on how to do it. Attorney board member leans forward. And your judgment led to hiring less experienced physicians who made fatal errors. He doesn't dance around it. He says it like it's settled law. They're basically saying, the deaths are on me. I try to push back. I hired qualified physicians who had unfortunate outcomes. Someone scoffs. Another board member says it cleaner and meaner. You hired minimally qualified physicians who were in over their heads. Wu brings more metrics because of course he does. Patient satisfaction, down, readmissions, up, mortality, up, complication, trends across multiple departments. Sliding the wrong way. He points at the timeline. This lines up with the change in hiring approach. This is systematic degradation of clinical quality. My throat is dry. My hands feel cold. Board goes into private vote. Comes back fast, unanimous. 8-0. Position terminated effective. Immediately for cause, no severance, the phrasing is brutal. Prioritizing non-clinical factors over patient safety and staffing decisions. Security walks me out that afternoon, badge deactivated on the way to the elevator, and that's when it really hits. 3 people are dead, their families are suing, and my name is now part of the story. Local news catches it first. Then it spreads, hospital administrator fired after patient deaths. Outside review suggests diversity hiring compromised care. Regional becomes national. In a couple days I become the poster boy for diversity gone wrong. Comments are savage half. The internet calling me a murderer with an agenda. This is what happens when politics enters healthcare. The other half calling me a scapegoat. Systemic failures. Blame the admin to protect the doctors. But none of the takes change the facts. The deaths happened. The families are real. The grief is real. And, yeah, 3 people might still be alive if we'd had more experienced hands in those moments. That's not ideology. That's just the ugly math of it. Next months are legal hell depositions, discovery emails dragged into daylight, investigators asking the same questions over and over. And every answer I give feels like it's feeding a machine that already decided what I am. State Health Department wraps up their investigation official conclusion. We violated standards not maybe, not could've, straight up. Violations they hit Mercy Valley with a $2.4 million fine. Put the trauma program on probation for 30 months. Extra audits, extra reporting, every quarter. Someone from the state breathing down their neck. The 3 lawsuits don't even make it to trial. They settle total payout, ends up around $13 million. Insurance covers. Most of it, sure, but money isn't the real damage. The reputation is smoked. People stop trusting us. Patients start driving past our exit to go anywhere else. Even if it's farther. Even if it's inconvenient word. Spreads faster than facts, revenue drops, like 16% in 1 year. Finance panics, the hospital starts cutting, staff get laid off. Whole programs quietly disappear, restructured, consolidated. Everyone knows what it means, doctor. Weiss retires early, claims it's family time, but you can see the stress ate him alive. Board starts talking about new leadership, like it's a cleanse. Megan Walsh steps down as chief of surgery, back to being a regular, attending no more chair meetings. No more press, just scrub in, do cases, go home. Then the board does the thing everyone saw coming. They ask Mark Bradford to come back as chief after pushing him out. Like last week's trash. He accepts. Because of course he does. He stabilizes the department, fast. Puts systems back. The way surgeons like them, everything tight, everything decisive. Meanwhile, Emily Carter and Paige Ramirez, don't last HR, separates them, not loudly, not with a statement. They just vanish from the schedule officially. It's not because they're women, and honestly, it isn't. It's because families won't consent to their care anymore. People straight up say it at intake. I don't want the doctor who killed that patient touching my mom. Don't put that one on my husband. Admin can't keep them, even if they wanted to. They leave quietly, pick up jobs at smaller places, rural hospitals, low acuity, 20-ish bed facilities, where the cases match their experience, less chaos, less pressure, more supervision. And the cruel part is they do fine there, because the environment fits what they've actually done before me. Though I'm radioactive, completely unemployable in hospital leadership, I can't even get past a first interview. Every single call eventually turns into the same question. So, tell us about Mercy Valley. I try to spin it. I try to make it sound like a complicated situation. I was implementing board-approved diversity initiatives, and then it hits the wall, and 3 patients died, and you were terminated for cause, and the hospital was fined. They don't even need to say no. Their faces do it for them. Can you walk us through your decision-making? What am I supposed to say? There isn't a defense that doesn't sound insane. The decisions are the explanation. I chose less experienced physicians because they checked the box I cared about. I elevated a less experienced surgeon because I wanted the optics. Then patients died, and the trauma designation almost got stripped. So yeah, I can't justify it 1 year after I got walked out. I'm working for a medical supply company, not even a manager sales coordinator, pulling like $61,000 cold calling hospitals to sell equipment packages used to run a hospital. Used to have people waiting outside my office, used to sign off on multi-million-dollar budgets. Now I'm pitching bedpans and IV poles and pretending it's staying in healthcare. I walk into hospitals with my little badge visitor, sticker, see the same hierarchy. I used to hate male chiefs, senior attendings, the whole pyramid. And I used to look at it like oppression, like a system that needed to be corrected. Now all I see is experience, competence, people doing the job because they've done it 1,000 times. 2 years later, I'm doom scrolling, and I see an article about Mercy Valley headlines, basically, hospital regains full accreditation after quality improvements. They got their status back, state signs, off press releases everywhere. Bradford gets quoted something like, "We refocused on clinical excellence. We hire the most qualified physicians, period. Outcomes improved, satisfaction up." And the part that stings is they still hire women. They still talk about diversity. But it's different now. They hire experienced women, competent women. Women who've actually seen the cases before. Not junior docs shoved forward because I wanted a win on a spreadsheet. I click deeper and see Emily Carter's name in a small-town hospital newsletter. She's at some rural place with like 24 beds, low acuity, basic ER transfers, out the big stuff. And she's doing, well, good outcomes, no spikes, no scandals. And it finally lands in my chest, heavy and cold. She wasn't stupid, she wasn't evil, she wasn't incompetent in the cartoonish way people want. She was inexperienced, and I put her into situations she wasn't ready for. I made her the point of the spear, in trauma she hadn't seen enough of. And a young woman died after delays and hesitation and protocol worship. That death is on me, my decisions, my priorities. 3 years after the firing. I'm 47, still selling supplies, make about $69,000. Now tiny raises, nothing impressive, still nowhere near leadership, still in healthcare, but like a ghost outside the glass, selling to people who used to report to me. Sometimes I run into old colleagues in the hallway. They're polite, they're distant, short conversations. No warmth. Everyone knows what happened. Everyone knows about the deaths. No one wants to be associated with the admin who turned diversity into a liability headline. I think about those 3 families constantly. The 69-year-old who needed the seasoned bypass surgeon, the 29-year-old who needed faster trauma judgment, the 74-year-old who needed an ER doc who could read an EKG in their sleep. They're dead. Their families are living in the aftermath. And I contributed to it by putting less experienced people into roles that demanded the highest level of experience. Not because I wanted anyone to die, not because I'm some comic book villain, because I convinced myself ideology could outweigh skill gaps, because I thought intentions mattered more than reps, because I treated medicine like a corporate culture project. And medicine doesn't care under pressure, the right call matters. The fast call matters. The call you only make correctly if you've seen it before. Junior physicians, no matter who they are, aren't always ready for that. That's not sexism, that's just the job, that's just reality. I ignored it, I pushed through anyway, and people died, and the hospital almost collapsed, and my career ended in public. Now I'm a middle-aged guy selling bedpans for $69,000, and if you Google my name, the first thing that comes up isn't my 2 decades in healthcare. It's the headline, "Administrator Fired After Patient Deaths Tied to Diversity Hiring." That's the legacy. Not the budget fixes, not the modernization work, not the years of grinding, just the 3 people who died on my watch. Because I hired the wrong physicians for the wrong reasons. And I learned too late that in medicine, you don't get to prioritize anything over competence, not optics, not equity slogans, not good intentions, just competence, just experience, just skill, because lives depend on it. 3 lives I helped take away by forgetting that basic truth. And I live with it every day. Walking into hospitals, I used to run looking at the structure I used to call oppression, and realizing it was mostly just an experience-based hierarchy where the most capable rise, where patient safety comes first, where politics doesn't stop a bleed out or restart a heart. That's what I should have understood. That's what cost me everything and cost 3 families their people, because I didn't understand it until it was too late and they were dead and I was finished.